All right, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know what time it is. It is Chalk Talk time. We're going to be waiting on Eric to come on in just a few moments, but thank you for joining us. Getting ready for that Thanksgiving feast that's getting ready to come up in a couple of weeks. Just a few short days away from Christmas, so got lots of football to talk about. So we're going to bring on Eric, so give me just a second. And there we go. Good evening, brother.
Good evening, man. How you doing tonight?
I am doing excellent. How about yourself?
I'm swell, brother. Thanks.
Oh man, do we have a lot to talk about? Craziness going on here in the NFL over the last what? Since the last time we talked, been some craziness going on. We'll just start it off. We'll go. I want to get it out of the way. Let's just get it out of the way, and then we'll review some of the games, because this has been bugging me since this all came about. Now, I don't like to normally talk political stuff, and I don't think this should be political in any way, but it's going to hit some people in the mouth the wrong way, probably. But listen, and I'm going to caveat this with in no way am I anti-vax. I am all for choice. I mean, I wouldn't have spent 23 years in the military if I was anti-vax. I'm just going to put that out right there. My daughters have their shots. Everybody has their shots. What I will say is I am, I guess the word pro-choice. And we had a situation stemming for about a week now, at least, of Aaron Rodgers. And he came out and he said, he's like, he was diagnosed with COVID or whatever the case may be. But it seems to be in perfectly good health. No other issues other than he just tested positive. So it came down to people saying he lied, people saying he deceived. No, and no, he really didn't. I mean, he had to test every week due to protocols. He had to, and all that. His team knew, and every day I'm seeing, oh, he lied to his teammates. He didn't let his. No, are you telling me there's now 95,000 people on the Green Bay Packers team that know exactly what went down between Aaron Rodgers and his teammates and coach in the NFL? They knew what his status was. Yeah. From the beginning of the thing, they knew what his status was. Well, he lied. No, he didn't lie. He didn't lie. He was asked if he was immunized. He said he was. He didn't. They didn't and I remember the press conference. They didn't ask him if he was immunized they just asked if he was immunized. Yeah, absolutely. But I am very, very much on the side of it is his choice. And I don't think anybody else, but what we know how it is. We know it's social media. We're doing it right now. We're giving our piece. We know what social media is going to do with their piece. Again, like I said, I'm not anti-vax. You do what you feel you need to do. Like I said, I wouldn't have spent 23 years in the Air Force if I was anti-vax.
Yeah.
His stance was and I like what he said, and I'll let you rebut here in a second. But he said, the Fox News is going to champion me, and CNN's going to vilify me. And he's like, at the end of the day, I don't care about either one of them. This is about what my choice is and about what I want to do. And I stand beside him 100% on that.
Yeah, completely. This whole thing has blown up, excuse me, only because everything COVID is political right now. And he happened to not get the vaccine. Just before coming on, I found out that the Browns running back, the entire running back core just popped positive for COVID. And other than making, a little headline on ESPN, it's not going to go anywhere. But because Aaron Rodgers was not vaccinated according to league rules, this whole thing is a lot bigger than it really needs to be. And I agree with everything you were just saying. I am pro Team Aaron on this one, if you will. And there's a couple reasons. Excuse me. Number one, he informed the league, he informed the players union, and he informed the Packers way back in July that he was working with his own doctors because he had concerns that he was allergic to elements of the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, the two most popular. I think that was around the time when the Johnson & Johnson was like, yeah, we're not letting anybody take it. So he didn't have a vaccine choice when he was working with his doctors. And just like you said, everybody already knew that, but there was nothing, there were no issues at that time. So, you know, from a football standpoint, you're really looking at, there's really two issues here. Number one, did he lie to the NFL and anybody else? And then number two, did he violate protocol? Well, he may have misled the media, but I don't recall any reporting that he has misled, that he lied to the NFL.
No.
And then to the protocol thing, he, by his own admission in the McAfee podcast, said that he did not wear his mask to the press conferences, but all the other protocol, the daily testing, the masks throughout the facilities, those were part of the reasons why he didn't wear them to the press conference, because everybody was vaccinated and everybody else was wearing masks. Yeah. So in his mind, it was kind of senseless.
Yeah.
So I don't like Aaron Rodgers on the football field, but everything he has said is completely sane, completely reasonable. It's just that everything on the topic of COVID has just got completely insane. And somebody's trying to vilify Aaron Rodgers right now because he has a different opinion than most of the people in the public eye. And I think it's tragic. From a league standpoint, I understand they are investigating the protocol violations, and I'm hearing that he won't be suspended, and the organization won't have any player personnel violations, but there might be some fines or something.
That was the last I got, was the fines. And like he said, and you were talking about the McAfee interview. He said that the reporters were already wearing their mask and he was 6 feet away. Yeah. I mean, I don't see how that's, I mean, maybe wearing it in and then wearing it back out, but I get it. And yeah, the last I had read today was possible fineage for the protocol stuff, but nothing else. The NFL, like I said, and this is what everybody's, I get, and I get there's heroes on both sides. There's champions for his cause, and there's people against his cause, and I get it and I understand it. And for me, I'm a champion his cause, I guess, because at the end of the day, if there was any wrongdoing, the NFL would have already not let him play.
That's right.
They would not have let him play if he was not following any of the protocols that he was supposed to. Like I said, unless he went into that press conference, then that's where they're going to get him. But right. Who cares if he misled the media? I don't. Right. Personally, I don't care if he misled the media. I guarantee you his teammates knew. For people to sit there and go, well, he lied to us. No, he did. You cannot spend 4 months, 6 months with these guys and them not know. They just cannot know. He
actually appealed to the NFL his natural immunity process. He actually asked them if he could do that as a substitute, and they said no. But they never told him he couldn't keep doing it. Obviously, as long as it's legal within the drug requirements. But
right.
They knew what he was doing the whole time.
At some point, we got to stop vilifying. I mean, I get it, and I understand it. But why are? And I'm not trying to get into what shot is what and what happens to people who get COVID. But we don't flip out over if he didn't get a flu shot.
Right.
And how many people did he probably get, before COVID, how many people did he possibly give the flu? I get it. And it's not, and I'm not and ladies and gentlemen, before you get on here and you start saying it's not the flu, I'm not comparing it to the flu. I'm not. What I'm saying is he did what he had to do. He's in good health.
Right.
No one else has tested positive. In fact, if you want to get technical, there was 2 people that had the immunization that tested positive before him a week prior. We can't guarantee it that they didn't give it to him, and I'm not going to debate that anymore. Yep. But that's my stance on it. Yep. I just wanted your take, and I mean, I kind of figured we were on the same page, but it was worth at least talking about and at least bringing up, because I wanted to clear my. I mean, we can't have an NFL show without talking about it.
Yeah. Hey, right. Are you hearing any feedback?
I'm not.
Okay. It might just be on my end then.
All right, let's get to the second biggest issue I'm guessing for the week. OBJ. We talked about this, 3 or 4 weeks ago. We talked about him and Baker getting on the same page. We said they have to get on the same page if this team is going to be successful. They've got to be able to pass the ball if they want it to be successful. Obviously, they're not on the same page. And here's my thing though. His first words out of his mouth is he wants to be on a contender. Let's look at the AFC real quick. 7-2 Titans. Everybody else, for the majority, 5-3, 5-4.
Correct.
There are contenders. He's on a contender.
Yep.
That's my first complaint. You're on a contender. Second, Baker has always been, and this is at OU, this was at Texas Tech, wherever he played, Baker has always been about distributing the ball. He always had good reads. He always knew where to find the open man, and he's going to try to do it. Now, I'm sorry, OBJ, if you're not getting your 13 targets per game. I'm sorry. You're just not going to get that in Denver. Not with 2 of the most outstanding running backs in the NFL. You have Hooper. You have Landry. You've got other receivers that he wants to target, because he's not. There's no reason we have to have a 50-50 ball every time you go out and run for the ball or run for a pass. So Dad decides he wants to get on Twitter and show some videos, and he's only showing the videos that make his son look good. He's not showing the videos of fourth and 1 where he drops the ball. He's not showing videos of where Baker nailed him right in the hands and he lets it skip off his hands into somebody else's. He's not showing that. And I applaud you, Dad. Way to show your kid off. But what you have done now, Dad, is you let every team know, and this is why he did not get picked up off waivers today, is exactly because of what you did.
Right.
I mean, that's a big part of it. The diva-ness is the other part. Are you surprised that anybody said no on the waivers?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. He had a $7 million asking price on the waiver wire. And there are a lot of teams that need him, including my New Orleans Saints. But Sean Payton himself said the asking price was too high for what they were going to get. And nobody has addressed, at least early that issue. But, he's been a complete free agent for, 4 hours?
4 hours.
And I just checked the wire, and there's still nothing on it. They're still not even mentioning teams. Adam Schefter doesn't have his phone out, nothing. So I'm not surprised at all. $7 million is too high to be asking somebody whose dad comes on social media and, talks about what his son not getting. I'm not surprised at all.
I'm almost a firm believer that if anybody does pick him up, it'll be at league minimum. Now that he's a free agent.
Yeah, I could see this. I could see the Saints working something for him and giving him a small contract, smaller contract, but then with bonus and with incentives through the rest of the season. Because a team like the Saints really need wide receiver help right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But let's look at this. Let's look. We saw what the Browns did last year without OBJ. While he was hurt and out, literally shot them to the top, besides Pittsburgh, but shot them to the top of that division without him. Then Baker, well, and we're going to talk about that game here in a minute. Baker goes off again because I think this is me. This is an opinion, but he doesn't feel that stress and that pressure of having, oh God, if I don't throw to OBJ, I don't think a team that's trying to get to the Super Bowl needs that kind of pressure, and I'm glad that they did what they did.
You know, I have a somewhat different take on it. Excuse me. Mostly because I think the Chiefs are a different philosophical team. I'm sorry, the Browns are a different philosophical team this year in their approach to every game than really they were last year. We've covered this extensively. The Browns in this particular game, we have one game from this season where, you know, post OBJ on the team, and sure, the entire offense fired on all cylinders, including Baker Mayfield. But there are two reasons why I don't necessarily think that OBJ not being on the team, or at least on the field, is that big of a deal. The first one is, in this game, they simply got back to what they do best. They run the ball. And, you know, Nick Chubb, 137 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and the entire team averaged over 6.5 yards a carry to. And that led, you know, on the Sunday game. And then Baker Mayfield went back to doing what Baker Mayfield does. He did spread the ball around to 8 receivers. He got, you know, 8 different receivers. Nice 132 rating. Did a really good job moving the ball around, found his spots. But what's the difference if OBJ's in the lineup? If Baker Mayfield is a spreader, right? He just needs to see them. But in this game, he was able to hit 8 receivers. I can't imagine he's going to constantly focus, and I can't imagine that pressure is going to be enough for a guy who's witty like Baker to want to target OBJ just to make him happy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like Baker to me. So those are the 2 main reasons why. And, you know, I think the Browns just finally realized that Baker is not the one going to lead this team. It's going to be run game and the entire team, and then Baker's going to complement the rest of the way. And then also, the Bengals just got outplayed, and now I think maybe we're starting to see the real Bengals that we were waiting to see all year. You know, it's an upstart team, very good, well coached, but just not quite ready for championship contention yet.
Yeah, I agree on that 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it right there. You nailed it on the head. But that's the way it always has to be with anybody that wins a championship. I think it has to be, you know, and I'll agree. It's you know, Nick Chubb and Hunt, Hooper and Landry, and the defense. The defense was on point. I mean, you get I don't want to go too much into it, but they were on point because we're going to talk about the game. But yeah, it was everybody. It's got to be 100% everybody. It can't be just one person. And we kind of saw that in the Dallas and Denver game. If you want my honest opinion, when one person is down, and I'm not saying Dak just wasn't Dak in that game, obviously.
Yep.
But everybody, it was off. I mean, the receivers dropping balls on 4th and 1 again. Yeah. So it has to be, and you're right, it has to be a 100% combined effort of everybody, from the running backs to the receivers to the offensive line, defensive, secondaries making plays like they did, and that's where you have a complete game.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, Browns just need to accept that identity.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I don't know if I mean, let's be honest. Almost all quarterbacks think that they're the team, and I get it, and I understand that. But I don't think I've ever gotten that full feeling from him. I mean, I get, you know, he's cocky, and you know, when he makes a big play, he wants to show it.
Right.
But I don't ever think I've ever gotten that feel of he ever said that this was his team. I don't know if he's I don't know if I ever got and I don't understand where OBJ got that. And maybe that's just because they clash and that was it. But
yeah, I think that's a label that everybody else put on Baker because he he's a fiery kind of guy. He's a passionate player,
Yeah.
And I think that was a label that the rest of the NFL put on him, was that he had to carry that team. It was the Browns. He was their #1 pick. He was going to take them to the promised land. But I don't ever get to say Baker thought that. And I think the Browns are understanding that their identity goes through the running game first.
Absolutely.
Before it goes through Baker. But he's still the leader of the offense.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, let's get on to what I saw last night is leading, when we've talked about this officiating from day one, but let me talk about what I saw last night. I saw a one-sided officiating crew. In the Bears-Pittsburgh game. There was 4 times, at least in my eyes, 4 times I saw roughing the passer on Fields, but barely touching Roethlisberger, it was called. And then let's just talk about the hip check / taunting. If that was taunting, I am Jerry Jones and I own the Cowboys. If that was taunting, I am Jerry Jones and I own the Cowboys. The dude stood up and just looked at his side. That's not taunting. Taunting is going, that's taunting. And we'll get on the taunting calls here in just a second. But the hip check that referee threw into him was on, and if that would have been the other way around, if it really would have been the other way around, where a player did that to a referee, hip checked a referee, we're talking fines out the yin-yang, probably kicked out of a game, or 2 or 3, depending on. But we have a referee that hip checks on purpose and then throws the flag. He didn't throw the flag while he was standing there looking at him. It was the moment he hip checked him, he threw that flag. That is where my problem lies. What did you see on that?
I was blown away in what I saw, and the football world is going crazy over head referee Tony Corrente's actions. They asked him after the game immediately what that was about. And I've watched the video probably 30 times, and the referee walks right in front of him as he's running back, and you can see defensive end Cassius Marsh literally move to get out of his way. Yeah. And the ref just kind of throws a hip at him, and you can see his mouth. He's like holding his mouth like, yeah, I'm going to get him. And then now I'll give the ref some credit. He looked like he was going, but to me, it was still premeditated. He's like, I'm going to get him to touch me, and then I'm going to throw it, but I'm not going to throw it because he hit me. I'm going to throw it because it was taunting instead, because I still want him to have the penalty, but I didn't throw it fast enough to change the game. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in referee world, and it's just part of that culture of more rules equals more problems. And probably the 2 biggest problems I have with rules in the NFL, this taunting rule is just ridiculous. I don't know anybody that likes it. I know Steelers head coach came out and said, yeah, we got to have it. There's no room for that. Of course he said that. He cut Cassius Marsh earlier in the year, and the taunting penalty helped his team out. Of course he's going to say that.
Absolutely.
But that's just a ridiculous penalty. That's part of the game of football. It's in the mindset. And then the other thing is with roughing the passer. Yeah, based on the law, based on the rules, there were several that could have been called on Fields. However, I have a problem with the roughing the passer penalty too. And I've said this before. I think it has taken away a very important element of the game and allowed quarterbacks to run roughshod over the lead a little bit unfairly. Yeah, there's excitement in the game. There's more scoring, but I
saw a crazy one in the Titans-Rams ones. That's for sure. There was
the push from Aaron Donald.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of it. Yeah, you're right. It's they're changing and I don't know if the one in the Titans really changed the outcome of the game. There were some horrible penalty calls in the Titans Rams game. There's some bad calls. I've seen, and I'll just use it for example because I'm obviously a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm going to use it for example. We saw a couple weeks ago, Dak Prescott makes a dive into the end zone. They don't call it a touchdown. They said it did. But I see the same exact play by Teddy Bridgewater, and it's a touchdown. I get it. Between each officiating crew, I get it. But it's not, because you have to replay it, and the same replay officials saw it. Tell me where I'm confusing this. It's just, it seems like there's just, I don't know. It was like against all the good teams to win this weekend. It was like, all right, we're going to make every bad call that we can against anybody. First of all, that call really didn't have anything to do with Dallas losing. Dallas lost that game on their own. Dropping balls on 4th and 1, missing, you name it. That's Dallas's fault, and I'm not gonna get into that because it didn't really have an outcome. But last night's game, Chicago-Pittsburgh, possibly could have had an outcome on the Rams. Titans. I don't know. I mean, it was a crucial third and or fourth and something.
Yeah.
Or it was a third and something. They stopped them. Correct. Yeah. And they gave him an automatic first down. I think that changes the outcome especially on that call. And I've seen it all year long. And not only in pros, I'm seeing it in college as well. So I mean, it's just, at what point is what taunting? Because we saw it. I mean, we saw a crappy ass taunting call a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma State, Iowa State. The guy high step. Kind of took a weird high step. But that's not taunting. But we'll sit there and we'll watch a football or a team get an interception. They run it all the way back, and the entire team runs down there and act like they're taking a picture in front of and they don't call. I don't get it. There's no consistency. And I hear all the sports talk. I hear First Take. I hear Good Morning, whatever those shows are on ESPN. You get paid to say what you need to say about the NFL. Well, I don't get paid, and I'm gonna tell you this. It's not fair, and it's not consistent.
Yeah. A lot of these calls were created to protect the superstars of the league. When Tom Brady tore his ACL, the next year the rule came out that you couldn't get the quarterback down below. That's a Tom Brady. The Tuck rule is a Tom Brady rule. So they're all designed to protect the quarterback. But then when you get guys that haven't earned it, Fields, Kyler Murray had one on him earlier that wasn't called, but then he did have one on him that shouldn't have been called, but was.
Yeah.
So, first of all, it's subjective. And Tony Corrente himself said it last night. He said, I just felt like he was taunting. Like, oh, okay. That's it? That was your only criteria, other than he was looking at the sidelines and saying, he could have been waving to his mom behind him. Yeah. So because it's subjective, and because we have technology nowadays, and there's this intense desire to be perfect when the game has never been perfect, and we're still having this conversation even after all this technology. So the game is still not perfect. I just say cut back on the rules, enforce the real physical element. So like, helmet to helmet on the quarterback. Obviously, that's a good call. Yeah. If you want to do a taunting, you do it. Sometimes the players will butt heads. Okay. Or, you have the Cortland Finnegan and Andre Johnson fight where they're ripping off helmets. Well, that's clearly bad.
I agree.
So, there's a time for sanity to be implemented.
Yeah. It needs to be. They need to. If you're going to implement this, and I know it's trial. I get it. It's trial and error, and I understand that. But at what point, by saying it's subjective, that you can't have consistency if it's subjective.
Right.
You cannot.
Right.
Because this referee thinks it cost the game, but next week the guy could do the same thing. And somebody's going to be like, well, that was a taunting last week, but it's not for him. Why? And it cost the other team the game.
Mm-hmm.
Before you implement a rule, you got to find a way for it not to be subjective.
Right.
And even with roughing the passer, it's getting a little bit out of hand. At least, like I said, with Tannehill, that was the worst roughing the pass. I mean, that was the worst roughing the passer I've ever seen, and I've seen some pretty bad calls. All right, well, I wanted to get those out of the way because I knew that would be a good subject, and obviously it's probably going to be some of the stuff we're going to be revisiting as the season continues. We still got a long way to go. But the reason I picked these games, it was one game stood out to me as they stuck to their game plan. And the other two could have been one team won, but if they had continued to stick with the run, they would have won and it wouldn't have looked as close as it was. And that's the Packers and the Chiefs. Every time the Chiefs ran on the Packers 8 yards. Literally almost 8 yards, and they would go away from it. And and this is what we're talking about. The Chiefs, they're not looking consistent. They're looking. I mean, one bad play, and we've known what we've seen out of the Chiefs. One bad play in that game, and the Packers are winning that game. And the Packers they literally could have almost won that game because they did not stick to their running game. 8 yards. I watched it. They were averaging 8 yards almost every time he touched the ball and ran through it. And then they would run to a pass or a swing, and that's where they would get caught out on that because the Packers are really good on the perimeter. They got the speed to hit those perimeters and stop those little swing passes and stop those little wide receiver screens. Why not stick with it? You I don't know.
So I'll even take it a step further. It's really baffling to me that the Chiefs have not figured out that the defenses are literally every defense that's played them this year has almost done the exact same thing against them.
Mm-hmm.
Put 2 high safeties back. You minimize the pressure from the front 4, so you're not blitzing near as much. And all you're doing is you're forcing Patrick Mahomes to go to the underneath routes and then run the ball more. You're begging the Chiefs to run the ball. And as you just said, they do it and it succeeds, but nope, they got to be the throwers who have all the yards. Well, guess what the Packers did? They relegated Patrick Mahomes to just 4.5 yards per attempt. He was 0 for 5 on the long ball. These are all the things that the Chiefs always do well on. But every team has stopped it this year. Tyreek Hill is no longer wide open with 70 yards to run. Kelsey no longer has a big hole in the middle because there's a linebacker tailing him and then there's a safety on top of it. I don't know why they haven't figured this out. Offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy's they've got to change it up. Fortunately for them, they're still in the hunt.
Yeah.
But they've got to change it. Because they got the win, but the Packers easily could have walked out of that game with the win had they stuck to a game plan that worked. That was another thing that was weird about that. Jordan Love's a rookie quarterback, and he's sat with them for over a year. I get it. He's learning the system. And yes, he has all of his weapons, but you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and those guys were averaging they were averaging.
I think it was 5 or 6 they were averaging when they ran the ball.
Yeah. And what do? You let Love throw for over 30 times, and run the ball on him.
And
I was shocked.
And the Chiefs, the Chiefs literally brought out every blitzing package that they could. That is the draw waiting. I'm just in a run the draw.
Right.
You're going to get 10 yards every time they run the blitz.
Or the screen pass.
Yeah. This is why I said this is why I brought these games, because they were not. The Chiefs didn't stick. I think they had a game plan. They just didn't and stick to it. And then like you said, the Packers didn't. I think they was like, just go out there and do what you can. That's the way I saw it. Maybe I don't know, but they threw and they threw everything at Love. I mean, they blitzed every way they could blitz and blitz and blitz.
Yeah. Like 6 out of 10 plays, they were blitzing him. It's the most. I think it's the most I've ever seen this particular Chiefs team blitz.
Yeah.
You know, they're known for blowing you out with their offense, defense bending, but I mean, it seemed to me like it was a measuring stick to see who could pass for the most yardage, but they both ended up failing.
Yeah, they both failed. It was a failure on complete. But like you said, I mean, one mistake, and they should have had one. Somehow I think they had it was a bad call or bad something happened on that, and I can't remember. But it was like some inopportune things. But in the end, the Chiefs won. They're still in the hunt. Maybe that's the turnaround they needed. Maybe that's what they need to get themselves thinking clearly. I don't know, but obviously they still have some things to work out. Rams Titans again. Rams running the ball on them. They're running. I mean, they're hitting holes and running right up Tennessee's gut and punching them, and then they go away from it and they get sacked for 10 yards. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the Titans at all, because that was one of the most awesome displays of defense I've seen in a long time on pass rush and pass. But on the run, they weren't really stopping it 5, 6, 7 yards. And then, like I said, second 8, they're going to drop Stafford back and he throws an interception, or he gets sacked for 10, 15 yards. I mean, he still played pretty decent. I mean, that I don't know what he was thinking in the end zone. Should have taken the 2 and tried to stop. I mean, I'd rather give up. I'd rather give up 2 points than turn around and give them 7. That's me. That's me as Dash as a coach, probably.
Yeah, you know, I think the Tennessee defense. You know, Coach Vrabel is defensive-minded guy. I think the Tennessee defense went into that game. They've got Matt Stafford and they've got Cooper Kupp, MVP quarterback, best wide receiver in the league. And we're going to take that away from them, and we're going to let them run. We're going to make them run to beat us, especially since we can't match them because our running game, you know, isn't working right now. It's not going to. Well, it's like you said, Rams started running, and it worked. And then, you know, they know their personality is to air it out. That West Coast style offense. We're going forward vertical, and we're going to crush you in a minute and 10 seconds. And they have the players to do it. And, you know, it's about winning the game. And if you stick to the run, you force the Titans up, and then you open up the lanes on the back end after, you know, they see that after the Titans see that, okay, your running is very well, I got to stop you. Okay, well, I'll just go over you when you start rushing. And I don't know why they didn't stick to it. So with that, you got to give the Titans the credit for seeing it.
Yeah.
And their defense is the reason why they won the game.
Absolutely.
The interesting thing for me is the Titans so far have proven me both right and wrong this year.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning, I said their defense was going to be good, and then they were terrible because of all the injuries. They're getting their defense back, and they've been stellar. They've now held the Chiefs and the Rams both to their lowest point total of the season, and then they also, you know, made sure to take care of the Colts as well. You know, kept that within reach, and then obviously the Bills. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, that defense played well. 2 interceptions on consecutive plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, one was a pick 6. They sacked Stafford 5 times. That's a big deal to get after him like that, you know. So they schemed really well, but the Rams, they missed the opportunity to run the ball to set up the pass. And, you know, it did it. But then the other way, one more thing, the Titans proved me wrong. I just didn't think they were going to be able to win without Derrick Henry. I don't know if I made that clear, but I just didn't think they were going to. And true, they weren't, you know, really good on offense. They weren't stellar, but they did enough to win.
Yep.
That's what
mattered. They ran 3 running backs that are, you know, obviously AD and the other 2. Congratulations, by the way, to AD for getting a touchdown there coming out of, I guess not retirement,
That's right.
but more of a, but good on him. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he's not going to be Derrick Henry. He's not going to come in and give him 100, 200 yards. I get it, but they utilized I think you're right. I mean, they weren't stellar, but they utilized those 3 running backs very well. Ran them out of the backfield, and then we're picking up 5 yards, maybe 6 yards per carry, depending on when they ran it. They had a few stuffs behind the line. I get that, but but what they did with that was open their passing lanes. They did, and then Brown had a few couple of drop passes that could have again and these are, and I'm seeing that a lot, and I don't know if it's just it's just 2021, but I'm seeing a lot of drop passes just wide open. I'm dropping them and see Lamb, Brown, you name. I mean, there's people dropping it, but yeah, I mean, overall, man, the Titans looked really good in that game, and the Rams did not, and it's because of stick. I mean, this is what I see, and I'm like, stick to your game. Come on, but again, there was some crappy calls in that game as well. And I think McVay at that point was just like, he was getting frustrated, and you could see it on his face the entire time. So,
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, at some point you're just like, I mean, and I hope, like I said, we've talked about the officiating. I'm not going to get into it again, but so let's get into the Browns and Bengals. And this is we literally broke it down when we were talking about Baker and OBJ and that. They stuck to what they started off with that run, they ran it, and then that play action pass, 80 yard play action pass. That is what it's designed to do.
Right.
And then just like we said, 100% was given on both sides of the ball, and even on special teams to an extent.
Right.
But you got your defense, a 99-yard touchdown. I mean, that'll deflate any quarterback. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
You're driving, and then I mean, but Burrow telegraph. I was like, that's yeah. But I loved that it was, like you said, it was well-rounded. Baker did what he had to do. He handled, and Chubb. I think that's my wife's new boyfriend. She was like, are they gonna hand? I'm like, just watch the game. But yeah, she was excited to see, because she likes to watch them run, and she enjoyed that game. And I was like, yeah, it's probably one of the best games in a few years. I mean, even though they did so well last year, that was probably one of the best well-rounded games I've seen out of the Browns in a long time.
Yeah, they matched well. They, the mix, the run mix was well. The timing of those plays was right. Baker Mayfield wasn't pressured a lot. I think he got sacked once or twice.
I think it was twice. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a clear improvement. The defense was very, very opportunistic, and it's a big divisional game, and it was. I think they looked a little more confident probably than they had. So I don't know what kind of Gatorade they had this week, but they kind of looked like a different team coming out, and the Bengals looked a little bit stiff to me.
Yeah, they like I said, they looked good on that first drive, and I don't know if that just, I mean, well, it did. It probably took a little bit of air out of their gas tank, but man, it just. That's a soul-crushing 99-yard interception. But yeah, they look stiff. They didn't look good running. They didn't look good running the ball. Mixon just did not look like the Mixon that we saw 3 weeks prior or 2 weeks prior. It just. I mean, these games just sum up what we've been talking about with the AFC. Besides the Titans, who wants to go grab it? I mean, the Bills still look. The Bills are still decent. Don't get me wrong. 6-2, 6-2 Bills. They didn't have a great showing this weekend, but who wants to grab? I mean, and that's what I get at. You got a lot of contenders there. I mean, North. West and East, or Northwest and South, I think. All those leaders are sitting there at that 5-3, 5-4. Besides the Tennessee, the South Titans are running away with that. Indy's going to give them a little bit of something, but nobody. I don't know. I don't know who wants to win it. I
know. I'm with you. This has been one of the craziest things I've seen. One conference is just wants to win. The other conference just wants to be.
Yeah. You did get your power rankings correct. Did you get your power rankings this week? Okay, because
very top heavy.
Literally, my entire power conference or my power rankings this week is almost NFC. One, two, I have four AFC teams, and then the rest are NFC.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with your number 10. Let's jump into that real quick. Who's your number 10?
So I think I'm on an island here, but my number 10 actually is Pittsburgh right now. Very quietly winning 4 straight, and now they're just one game behind the Ravens in the AFC North. Building momentum at the right time. They do have the right ingredients to compete in the AFC. They're a well-coached football team. Their running game is on point. Najee Harris is projected to have a 1,000-yard season, and that's going to be important. And their defense right now is in the top 10. They looked really good in the first half last night, tapered off in the second half after the Bears made some adjustments, and the Steelers' D didn't pick up on those adjustments. But I think they're number 10 in the league right now for me.
I got them moving up. They're not quite knocking on the door just yet. I got them moving up though. But my number 10, I take that back. I've got 5. I got it 5-5. I lied. The Los Angeles Chargers are my number 10. Still looking good. I think they didn't handle Philadelphia like they could have. I really don't think they handled Philadelphia like they could have. They let Philadelphia hang around way too long in that game, way too long. I don't know if Herbert is just becoming human again, if you will, or if he's just I've got them at number 10. I like where they're going. I still think they're one of the best teams in the AFC. But they need to separate themselves. They need to distance themselves if they want to, if they're going to win that championship, if they're going to the Super Bowl and want to win a championship, they need to distance themselves from some of these teams that they should just probably beat handily.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with number 9.
So my number 9 is the Chargers. That's a one position drop from the last time I had. And yet the last 2 weeks kind of shined a spotlight on their weaknesses. Namely, that's the worst run defense in the NFL. That it's got to improve if they want to move up. Running in the AFC is premium. So, but yeah, they probably could have put Philadelphia away early. But I think that's a factor of weakness in their defense. Justin Herbert came back very well. He completed 82% of his passes. So I don't know if it was a mechanics thing or if it was a scheme thing, but he figured it out, and he got himself back into Herbert form, and that's a road win in Philadelphia, which is not easy to do.
That's not easy.
They hate everybody but Philadelphia. So.
Yeah, no, like I said, I just think they have the potential.
Yeah,
they have the potential to go a long way with that, and this year. All right, my number 9, the Cleveland Browns. I think they finally figured out, like we talked about. I think they figured it out. I mean, at least that's the way it was portrayed on Sunday against the Bengals. They figured themselves out. I think they can move forward from this. And it's not even just the OBJ. I think if he'd have been there, probably would have played the same type of game. I just think they finally figured out where they need to be. But I like, and we talked about it. I think Baker realized where that team needs to be, where they need to run with it, and what they need to do with it. The coach, I mean, everybody. I think everybody was firing on all cylinders, and I think they can do that. They're just, they could end up sneaking up on the Baltimore Ravens in that division and taking it.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, but that's where I've got them number 9. So I like where they're going. And I just want to see more. I want to see, and we talked about it. We want to see where they can take this team because they've got all the pieces there. Since day one, we've talked about them having the pieces. You're in it now. Yep. Let's take it and drive.
That's exactly right. Yeah. If they play the way they did this weekend, that's the team that can take them pretty much anywhere. Let's improve on that.
Yep. All right, let's go with number 8.
Number 8 is Baltimore. Their D continues to struggle, but my goodness, Lamar Jackson, that kid's on pace for 1,200 rushing yards and could reach 5,000 yards this year. That would be insane. So, but it takes a little more than Lamar Jackson to get up there. So, number 8, Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Baltimore's my number 8. You nailed it. You can only do so much on offense. Your defense has got to step up. And it's not the defense of the Baltimore Ravens from years ago, obviously.
No, definitely not.
I'm right there with you though. This kid is phenomenal with that ball, and if you're right, 1,200 yards and 5,000. I want it. I'm cheering for him all the way because that would be an awesome feat. But I'm right there with you. Number 8, Baltimore Ravens. All right, number 7.
Number 7. So this team dropped the furthest. They lost 5 spots. I went with Buffalo. Still number 1 in D. Still number 4 on offense. But this game against Jacksonville just concerned me. You just don't. They played subpar against the Dolphins last week for 3 quarters. And in this game here, they played terrible.
They're just playing down their competition, I think.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. And this game was a little bit of a concern for me. Also, they need a better running game. I don't know why they don't like Devin Singletary. I really like that running back. For whatever reason, they don't see enough in him to make him the feature back. And also their O-line is still a little banged up, so they need to get a little bit healthier. But they do have the pieces to win. They just gotta crush it. So for right now, they're in my number 7.
I got the Rams, and for the reasons that we just talked about with them. You've got to Stafford doesn't need to relapse into a Detroit Lion Stafford.
Right.
And you need to stick to that game plan. Run, do what you do. I get it. You want to air it out and you want to throw the ball 50 times. But if something's working, and this is why I dropped him. If something's working, stick with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you can still run 5, 6, or 20 times, 25 times, and still air it out as much as you want. But if you're picking up 6, 7, 8 yards per run, I don't know. And I'm not talking about one. They're picking up 8 yards here on one run and then stuff. I'm talking 8, 6, 8, 6, 5, 8. Yeah. Something's working.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Stafford, and I always have. I just don't want to see him get in the mindset and relapse to some of those interceptions he didn't need to have in that game, and I think that's why they dropped for me. That's my number 7. Number 6?
Yeah, number 6 is Green Bay. This team is just different without Aaron Rodgers. They had all the pieces on the field and Love throwing for, over 30 attempts. That's about what Aaron Rodgers does, around 30, mid-30s. So the game plan looked to seem like it was kind of the same, just a completely different team without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I didn't yeah, I agree. And the only reason I haven't dropped them is because it was one game. And if that's something we see even with him in there, then I might see. But I think I'm not going to – I don't want to destroy Love. I mean, he – like you said, he's followed him. But he's still – I mean, in mind-wise, he's still a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, at least playing-wise, he's still a rookie. I mean, so that – I mean, I agree with you. But my number 6 is the Bills for the reasons – I mean, the exact reasons that you talked about. I didn't drop them as far as you did because I still feel like the only reason that they're just playing down. They played down to Miami. They played down to Jackson. I'm like, why? Why is it something that you think that you're going to go in there and just destroy them, and all of a sudden these guys showed you, and that's what they did. I mean, let's face it. I'm not going to say that they thought that they were going to go in there and destroy him, but I think that plays on your mind when you're like, all right, we're getting ready to play the worst team, the worst team in the AFC.
Right.
We're getting ready to go in, and do we really need to show out and show up? Well, yeah, it's still a professional football team.
Any given Sunday.
So that was why I dropped him. You got to stick. You've got to stick and stay with what you're known. And you're right. Run the ball. You got a great running back. You just want to utilize him.
Yep.
So my number 6 is Buffalo. Number 5.
So my number 5 is Dallas. I only dropped them 1 point. And the reason why is because they've only had one letdown. They finally had that letdown game that we were talking about a couple weeks ago that every other team in the league had that they really hadn't had. But I think this game was just a bump in the road. Dak came in rusty. Denver happens to match up well against them. They're very good on third down. They're very good against the pass.
Yep.
They just matched up well. And then they happened to come in and they wanted to play more on Sunday than the Cowboys did.
Oh, yeah.
So this may have just been a wake-up call more for Dallas than anything else. But I think Dallas is still a top 5 football team.
Oh, yeah. And the only I mean, I have never – and we've talked about some serious bad punts and some things that have gone on this year with Seattle and some other things. I have never in my life heard that rule.
Yeah. My best friend and I were chatting about this morning, and it's one of those rules that I just never understood why it was what it was. I understand what they said last night and what the rule is, because the ball went beyond the line of scrimmage. It becomes like a muff/fumble if the receiving team touches it, which you did. If it would have stayed on the other side of the line of, if it wouldn't have crossed the line of scrimmage, it would have been an automatic dead ball. So he would have had the opportunity to touch it and not fumble, and it wouldn't have been a fumble. So it crossed the line of scrimmage and became essentially a live ball if he touches it. But I don't, and as I understand, it's been like that for a while, because Coach McCarthy had this problem way before he was a Cowboy coach. He even talked about it, saying when they were in when his team was in Baltimore, and I think it was when he was an assistant coach, that happened to him. So this might have been a while ago. I don't understand the why. I just understand what the rule is, and according to the rule, it was a legitimate call, but neither me nor my friend could really tell why it was there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't say it could turn the tide, but it could have turned the tide in the game.
I've seen blocked punts change the tone of a game. That happened with my Saints when Taysom Hill blocked a punt, and then we ended up rolling them off after that. So yeah, those are huge game changers. Wake the fans up. Everybody comes out of that stupor and just starts firing on extra cylinders. That absolutely could change the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know. Well, I've seen it all now. Like I said, we saw some crazy stuff with the Seattle's punt, and we've now seen this. So, I mean, let's just chalk it up to 2021 because
Yeah, special teams is nuts this year.
I mean, it's crazy. All right, my number 5 is the Green Bay Packers. Again, kind of the same for the same reasons that we talked about. I didn't drop them because I don't want to, I want to see how they're going to do. If this had been 2 or 3 weeks in a row with Love doing the same thing, I probably would have dropped them.
Yeah.
But I still got them at number 5. I just dropped them a little bit for me. I think they're, I think they're a great football team, and they're playing on, they're playing great. We'll just see if they rebound with Aaron Rodgers, or if this continues to be a distraction, or whatever the case may be. But that's my number 5. All right, well, who you got at number 4?
I just went with Tampa Bay. They're just keeping pace with everybody. They had a bye week, so they have a chance to get some healthy players back. I think they'll be on the move.
Yeah, my number 4 is Dallas, again, for literally the same reasons we talked about. I mean, if you win with your backup quarterback, Cooper Rush, if you win with him, you can't, and I just think it was, Dak wasn't feeling, I don't know if Dak wasn't feeling it, if it was, I know the whole team didn't show up on offense.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Defense, Parsons, they were playing their hearts out. They really were. Defense, Micah Parsons, 2.5 sacks. I think the defense played what they could. Yeah, they got 30 points scored on them, but they really played their hearts out. And then Dallas didn't want to show up until 4 minutes left in the game and scored.
That's right. Yeah,
16 points.
Offense didn't help them out at all.
Yeah, no. So I maybe it's a letdown. Maybe they just thought, all right, Denver, it is what with like with the Buffalo, did they just let down? And I'd rather have the letdown and be 6-2.
Yeah, that's the thing. They haven't done anything to show that they're not one of the top 5 teams in the league. Yeah, they had an off game. So did everybody else. It definitely happens.
With the Packers, Rams, only other team that
Yes.
didn't lose was Arizona. But like we said, the top teams just dropped everybody.
Yep.
All right, let's move to number 3.
Yeah, I have the Rams at number 3. They did lose to the number 1 seed in the AFC. Yeah, it was at home. And the game plan, I think they'll learn from, making the game plan mistakes, and they'll come out better prepared. They're number 3 in the book.
All right. I got Tampa there, and because of the the bye week is just looked weird. I mean, I don't ever want to, and nothing against Brady, but I just don't want to give him credit anymore for anything. No, I kid. You're right. They're getting some people back off of injury. This team could make a run, and if you're going to do it now, we're in the second half of the season. You got to start making that run now. Cool, I like that. Number 2.
Tennessee jumped 7 spots to number 2. They are the ones in the AFC that want it. So they deserve to be the highest ranking that they can be in the power rankings without being number 1.
Right there. Looks like our number 1 and number 2 are the same. So, yeah, Tennessee, number 2. You can say what you want to say about Tannehill, but he's been a great field general.
Oh, yeah.
This year. And to go in there without your awesome starting running back, and still win, and it wasn't like firing on all cylinders. They had some mishaps, but you're right. They looked great as far as controlling the ball. And shout out to Tannehill for being he had 1 interception, but overall he looked decent back there, and just was. He's controlling that offense, and I like it. And that defense, man, I was blown away. I was just like, oh my goodness, what a defense! This is the defense I want to see.
Right.
This
is the one It's the one I've been thinking was going to show up, and it finally showed up in week 9.
Yeah, it took them a while, but because we've talked. We've talked about them and their defense. When are they going to show up? When are they going to show up? And this was, and it was like, wow! I was just in awe of that. That was a great game for
Yes,
Tennessee. And I guess we got Arizona at number 1. So go ahead.
Yeah, 5-0 on the road. They win a game without their head coach. Actually, they crush the opponent without their head coach. Then they come into this game, divisional foe on the road, no starting quarterback, no number 1 and 2 wide receiver. They lose their running back on the first play of the game, and then they still put up 31 points. This team is – I had been waiting to see if this Arizona team was going to be real or if they were going to do what most of them do. And you've pretty much thrown everything you can at them. And, yeah, they had a slow game on a Thursday night, by the way, against Green Bay Packers, and they barely lost, even though they got completely outplayed. So this team is very much for real, number 1.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything bad we can say about him right now. I mean,
No.
literally, you're without Watts, but your defense is looking good. And you nailed it. I mean, that was my points exactly why I had him number 1. If you can go in there and win with backup quarterback, backup receivers, and backup running backs after the first, Cliff Kingsbury's got this team where he wants them. And like I said, I hope it's not. And they did a great offseason, got some spots that I hope this is not a Band-Aid. I want them to keep this team together because, but you could be looking at some dominance for the next couple of years if they keep this team together. And you're right. I mean, they look so comfortable. Even with, Colt McCoy looked comfortable. I didn't see any rust or any just anything on this kid. He looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty much kind of the same ball. I mean, again, we don't talk about this when we do our stuff, so it's kind of nice to see that the majority of our teams are there. We just kind of got them in different spots, but for all the same reasons. That's a great pick. Yeah, it's going to be exciting this second half. I'm ready for the second half.
Yes.
I think we start seeing some of the teams with the pitch counts, and some teams need to. This is, and like I said, maybe Cleveland's firing. This is where they're like, all right, we got to make this run. Buffalo Bills, they need to make this run. Somebody needs to step up in that AFC besides Tennessee and the Chargers and say, hey, we want this. We want this now. And so some teams are going to have to start doing that. So
exactly.
That's exciting. All right, let's get to our picks. Both you and the fans went 5-5 this week.
Last week was terrible.
Man, it was. I tell you what. Some teams I was like, wow, whoo! I did not see it. But again, I didn't see some of these big time teams losing. I just didn't. But like it is any given Sunday. So here we go. You are at 38-22. The fans are at 32-28. So still holding that 6-game lead over the fans. So we'll go into our first game. Ravens versus Dolphins. This Thursday night, Ravens versus Dolphins.
Yeah, Ravens.
I'm with you on that one. The fans also went with the Ravens. So looks pretty steady on that one. Now, we just talked about this team, but we're going to give them, I don't want to talk bad about your Saints. No, I won't talk bad about Saints. Saints versus Titans. This is a legit matchup. This is a legit matchup. I like this matchup.
Yeah, this is one of those games where the Saints defense happens to match up well against the Titans' offensive strength.
Yep.
And, the Saints can beat anybody, any day. It's just what Saints team shows up. The good news is following a loss, Sean Payton has them ready. And I actually think I'm taking the Saints in an upset.
I have as well taken the Saints.
All right.
Like I said, for the reasons they match up, and that's why I said they match up well in all aspects of this game. But yes, you and I are taking the Saints. The fans did take the Titans. All right, Can the Jaguars make it 3 games this year? We got the Jaguars at the Colts. Can the Jaguars win 3?
No. Indianapolis is too good. Indianapolis wins this game.
Yeah, I agree. The Colts are they're going to start. This is a team that could probably make a good run, I think, if they play a decent, and keep to their game plan. This is a team that can make a run here deep into the season. So I kind of like that. So, yep, Colts all across the board. All right. A surging Patriots team. We've talked about them. They're not bad. They're not horrible. And they have a legitimate shot to win their division. They have a really good chance to win this division.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the game out.
Yep, they're game out. So we got the Browns versus the Patriots.
That's in New England.
It is in New England.
That's a good match.
It's an outstanding matchup.
I think I'm going to have to go with New England, the home team, only because they're the home team.
I am going with the Browns. The fans are with you on this one. The fans went with New England. I think they have a letdown game. I mean, every team's had one so far, and I think this is going to be their because they've been on a roll since that Cowboys game. They've done really good.
Right.
And
yeah, I can see this game going either way.
Yeah, I just think that the Patriots are going to have a letdown game. All right. God, I don't even know if I want to talk about this. Falcons versus the Cowboys.
Who?
Falcons versus the Cowboys. At home, the Cowboys got this.
Yeah. See, the thing about the Falcons is Matt Ryan, the Saints just make Matt Ryan look like the best thing since Betty White. And yes, he's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but the Saints always make him look stellar. Yeah. I think the Cowboys.
Yeah, I do too. They just don't. I don't know if they can stop that 1-2 punch with Zeke and Pollard.
Yeah.
And I hope that the jumble fingers from CD and Coop get fixed. So yeah, I think they are. I think they had, like you said, the Cowboys had their letdown game. They need to get. This is where they need to focus. Yeah. And I mean that division is still in their hands. So yeah. All across the board, we took the Cowboys. Another interesting matchup. Vikings versus Chargers.
Yeah.
Vikings had that game and let it slip through their fingers, for real.
Yes.
Against Baltimore.
Very good offensive team.
Yeah.
And the problem for the Chargers is Dalvin Cook is coming to town, and that defense can't catch a cold in the running game for the Chargers. So, I mean, this game could go either way. I know I have to pick one, so I got to go with the home team in this instance. And I got to go with the LA Chargers.
I'm going to go with the fans on this one and Vikings. I just, like you said, we talked about it. We've known that they can't stop the run for nothing.
Right.
I mean, even with Pepto-Bismol, I don't think they can stop the run. So,
that was good.
Yeah, I just would, and Dalvin Cook is on fire. I mean,
yeah.
If the Vikings stick with that run, they beat the Cowboys. So again, it's I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one. I think they're gonna take it to the Chargers there, and I didn't drop them to 10 for no reason. We talked about it. They need to get that defense and that run defense up. All right.
Yep.
This is an interesting matchup as long as Russell Wilson is coming back. They're just waiting on, at least last I heard, they're just waiting on doctor release. He's already off IR as far as the league goes.
Right.
They're just waiting on doctor release. So this could be a really good matchup with the Seahawks and the Packers with Russell Wilson back.
Well, yeah, and also Aaron Rodgers, he can't legally come back to the facilities until this Saturday before they leave. And this game is in Seattle, right?
Yeah. No, this game is in Green Bay.
Okay, it is. Okay. So, he can't come to the facility until the Saturday, so he misses all the prep and stuff. So I think Aaron Rodgers does play, and I think the Packers win the game again, even if Russell Wilson plays. But you're right. There's a lot of question marks in this game that can make it go either way. I still think the Packers win, though.
I'm with you. I think he plays. I think that he's, like I said, even if they don't, it's not that he's not sitting around, not practicing, throwing, and getting to keep him warmed up.
Right. It's another tough one. I gotta go. I gotta go with Denver. They're the home team. They match up pretty well. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Broncos as well. And it's just they're playing good at home. They play against the good teams. They play really good. And against the bad team, and I'm not saying the Eagles are bad or good, but I think they're at home. I think they got it. So I'm going with you as far as the Broncos go as well. Well, this team just can't catch a break. Coach, defense, people wanted to drive drunk, and then got people making threats on social media or videos. And so I think the Raiders are just going to go on a downhill slide. I don't think they can keep it up. There's just too much drama going on in that part of town. So the Chiefs at the Raiders.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. They lose their two, 2020 first round picks. Just cut them. And the Chiefs coming to town aren't much. They're much of a. I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs just because of pedigree on this one. I think the Raiders are capable of beating them, and I think Derek Carr is having potentially an MVP season if he was playing, on a better team. But I think the Chiefs pull this one out.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. I think it's another 13-10, 13.
Could be, yes.
13-10, something there. I think the Chiefs pull it out, but and I hate to see that for the Raiders. I don't want them to.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want them to dissolve. I want them to continue playing like they were. You just got to get over those distractions, and it doesn't help that literally their entire 2020 draft pick is either not on that team anymore. If you go look, their entire 2020 draft, I think there's one player left from that. Everybody else is either gone, cut, or in jail.
True.
All right, in our last game before we get out of here, our Rams at 49ers. We've got, another division game. Rams coming off one of their worst performances of the year, and the 49ers looking pretty good. I hate giving Jimmy G any kind of props, but.
Well, the good news for you is the 49ers are playing at home, and they've lost 8 straight home games, equivalent of one entire football season.
Yep.
And this game is at Levi Stadium in San Francisco, and the Rams also happen to be a better team, so I'm going with the Rams.
I am with you, too. I'm taking the Rams. Fans took the 49ers on that. I got to stop asking my wife. When Philadelphia is playing, she always picks the Eagles. I got to stop because she's always going to pick the Eagles. I'm like, babe, you got to pick another team. I was like, you're starting to like Cleveland a little bit. So let's just focus on Cleveland. No, I kid. No, that's great. Yeah, man. But like I said, we're getting into that second half of the season.
Yeah.
And this is going to be exciting to see who's going to make the changes that they need to make those deep runs. And we're going to see. I think now we're going to start seeing some of those pretenders in the AFC drop off, and the contenders we're going to definitely skyrocket. At least that's what I hope we see, because somebody needs to decide in the AFC what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, couple of things I'm looking at. You know, you talk about the AFC. There are 8 teams in the AFC, 4 in the South, 4 in the North, that all have better than 500 records. So one of those teams has to win the division, and then the other 2 are fighting for, you know, a wild card spot. So somebody's got to take it, and I'm just looking to see who does it. That's a very congested field right there. Also in the NFC South, I'm going to be looking at in the NFC South, 3 of the 4 teams currently hold playoff spots. If the season ended today, the Falcons have the number 7 seed. So I just want to see it. You know, does that continue? As those
Is that not crazy? Is that not crazy that they hold the 7th spot right now?
The Falcons, it's unbelievable. And you know, we said this before, but the Rams are the number 5 seed right now. It's unbelievable. So those are the things that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I agree. I'm keeping my eye on the officiating. I'm hoping something is learned. I really am. I'm hoping something is learned from last night, and that it'll be addressed and they'll do something. I'm not expecting. Obviously, I'm not expecting a miracle, but I want to see if some crap. And I would like to see that ref fined and or suspended for the rest of the season at least.
Yes,
or at
I
least.
want that too. Absolutely.
So I'm this week I'm looking to, like I said, just to see who's going to. You said it. There's 8 teams that need to decide. Is this the week where I step up and decide to take control of because one game bad for a couple of them and one game good for a couple of them.
Yeah.
And it's over. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And I just want, I guess, like I said, I just want to see some consistency, and hopefully that's going to be I think after last night that should be addressed, and maybe that's a hot topic for the rest of the league. But that's all I've got for this week. You got anything else?
No, that's it. Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day to you too, my friend.
Thank you for your service out there too, and God bless.
God bless you too. Thank you for your service. Thanks for doing the show with me. I have a fun every week.
This is my thing. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll see you next Tuesday, guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming out. We'll see you. Have a good night.
All right.